And we're live. Welcome to Gordok's Pub, where our characters serve up existential crisis after existential crisis.
Not to mention my mic serves that up as well. Let's see what we got.
So I saw how the StreamYard is trying to upsell so you can have more fonts. Like that's their selling point. Look, we've included more fonts.
So they've also split media assets and style up.
Yeah.
Media assets is music and your opening and your we can do short video clips. We don't have any acquired. I'm not sure how to acquire them, which is why I don't have them.
I just think it's funny. I think that adds a whole bunch of value. Fonts.
Well, they are trying to make it more intuitive and easier.
Okay. Well, it is way more intuitive than, say, OBS. So it's got that going for it.
Well, yeah, I think the thing is that OBS, you just have to do every single thing separately. Because you have to do a separate entrance for the mic, separate entrance for the camera, separate entrance for the guest camera. I think you can adjust sizes and all that stuff. There's a lot of variables.
Yeah.
And from what I hear, once you get the hang of it, it's really easy. But I think it's kind of like the difference between Mac and PC. Like PC, it's intuitive for me because that's all I've ever used. When I looked at my kids' MacBooks, I'm like, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing with this. How do you turn it off? So, and they're like, oh, this is what's a much more intuitive system. Like, really? Because I can't figure out how to turn it off. So it's not very intuitive on that count. So I think it's kind of the same thing between StreamYard and OBS is that StreamYard just has all the options right at your right hand. Like you can click on something, you can change the camera angle, the setting of the people, displays, all that stuff. There are buttons for it. So you don't have to pre-program them or label them or any of that. But you pay for that, right? That's the big difference. All right. I haven't even looked at this since last time. So this is our last. Is it going to be our last one, or are we going to do next Saturday? Because it doesn't really make sense to do Tuesday. Don't make sense because it's Christmas Eve.
Right.
And well, Thursday's the day after Christmas, and I don't know. We could probably, but I think it's going to be a lot of cleanup going on right then.
Yeah, let's just not. It's fine. Let's just not.
Well, yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Is that we don't really need to. Need a larger oval template because my oval template's the biggest oval's like this big, and that won't do when I need an oval this big. I don't even know if I have something ovular that's but I'm looking, that's maybe I'm just going to have to use a roll of tape and hide most of the circle.
I think
or
you do it that
something.
way.
Or something.
I worked with a guy who he taught math, and he always said there was no such thing as an oval.
Right.
And I was like, that's weird. If you meet with the president,
Right.
in what office do you meet him in?
It's the circular office.
The ellipse or the elliptical, I don't know. I was like, yeah. He's like, just because there's a word for it doesn't mean that's what it is. I was like, whatever.
What? Just because there's a word for it doesn't mean that that's what it is.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like that whole the Flat Earther organization. They've got memberships around the globe.
Oh yeah. It's a
Right?
round. It's a flat surface. You can go around it like a circle.
Yes, but a globe. A globe isn't just round; it's spherical. So, it's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of facetious, but still,
Yeah, so last night I spent most of the night working on my novel. And then, so I was up kind of late. And then I woke up this morning and my wife was still asleep. So I worked on more of the novel until about 10. Then I thought, you know what, I'll just take a nap. Because I'd gotten up early on my first day of break. So I went back to
that
bed.
doesn't
I got
sound
up.
like it's going to end well.
Well, I got up a little bit before 2.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, nice 4-hour nap. Woke up. I thought, oh yeah, and then started working on my novel some more. But still, I'm also revising that story that you read. There are a few things I think I could. I don't get why Jake doesn't get the chronology of it, but I'm like, well, I'll work on fix on that. Like,
I actually I didn't read Jake's comments.
oh, he had a hard time. Like, I was using the bits of poem, like scene breaks. Hey, Aaron. Aaron's here. That's Eek the Tat.
Oh. Hey, Aaron, I did it again.
I know, it's the ghost camera.
Oh, what the hell is going on with this?
I don't know, but make sure you're wearing pants if you're on stream, because that would have.
Yeah, I just don't. This is not cool. So, what I did was, I actually switched over to the chat so that I could see, the comment and say hi. And the minute I switched over, it jumped down like that.
That's weird. I don't know if that's a focus thing. I don't know what it is.
No, it like zoomed out. So
right.
But there's
it's very weird. That's all I know. But yeah, anyways, I was using the bits of nursery rhyme as like my scene breaks, and I had kind of lined them up with what's coming in the story, kind of like a little preview, but that did not land apparently with him. So I was like, well, all right. And I showed it to somebody else, and they thought one of the scenes was a flashback, and I thought, oh, God. Okay, well, now it's fixed. So, yeah, I went through, and I tried to mess with it. Still under 5,000 words, and I'm rather pleased with that. So, I think that might be... the one I go with for Writers of the Future. That's due in 10 days. But that's also helped with the novel because it's same world, some of the same characters, some of the same... Like, I was exploring some of the magical aspects in the short story. And when I went back to writing on my novel, it definitely influenced some things.
That is weird.
I agree.
Well, it's weird because I opened the control center, the 𝕍𝕊𝕊𝕀𝕀,
Okay.
and it had it zoomed all the way out. I never keep it zoomed all the way out. So I'll leave it open and see what happens. Oh, it did it again, didn't it?
Very strange. I think one of these days over break, I need to stream live just so I can see if I think I had my camera set at too high of a rate. I think that was my problem. I set my camera for the same rate as, like, I was watching a video on how to do it, and so I just matched up my settings with his. But I have a feeling he may be running his off of a desktop versus a laptop, and I don't think my laptop could handle it. Just the rate that he had his, you know. This isn't the most expensive laptop in the world because normally all I do is write. You know what I mean? So some of that stuff with, especially that you see online, you know, the older the computer gets and the older it's just can't do as much.
So while I'm working, you're going to have to let me know if it does it.
All right. It kind of made me laugh because the angle that it gets, because it shoots, I mean, it's pretty high up there. And when I had to teach during COVID,
no. I asked if you were talking about my camera, and then when you went on, I surmised it wasn't.
No, I was talking about your camera. How your camera is really high up, and so you can actually see. And when I was teaching during COVID, there were a lot of times, you know, I'd get up in the morning, I'd throw a shirt on that was professional, but I'd still have my pajamas on from below the waist because my students were never going to see it. And you know, why bother to get completely dressed when I didn't need to? And so I was just thinking,
You know this
Yeah,
is
if it
gonna
flips to that
forever
shot,
haunt you, right?
well, if I'm just saying, if it flips to the shot, and just be aware you may be giving more of a show than what you realized.
I'm always aware.
Oh, you're a dork.
I have one of them too. Hey, my wife's name's Amanda, so she's literally aware.
Yep.
And all my life I have been aware,
Yeah.
but I have never put it together like that until she put it together like that.
Nice. Well, a friend of mine, his name is Tommy Danger. And so he married an eye doctor, so she's Dr. Danger. And that's like one of the greatest names ever.
It's friggin' supervillain in the making right there.
I know. It's just like, wow. And what's funny is, this is a true story. Well, this is a secondhand story, because I've met him and I've helped him out, and Rhonda's worked with him and stuff, but I'm on the periphery of this. It started off, he was my sister-in-law's friend, and then my sister-in-law kind of hooked Rhonda up with him to make him these penguins and stuff. And the guy was going around, he was climbing summits and stuff, and he was raising funds for muscular dystrophy and stuff, and
that's a good reason.
Aaron said he went to a Dr. Jinx once.
I've been to plenty of Dr. Payne's.
Yeah. So
you'd think if you're a doctor, you would change your name from Dr. Payne.
Well, so this guy Tommy, he's going around and whatever, and he starts dating this woman, and they're getting ready to go get married, and she mentions how she's kind of excited to become Dr. Danger, and he's like, well, that's not actually my last name. So he had never so he had to go get his name officially changed so that she could take it. And the fact that he got this woman to marry him, that's a story to tell. I got your mom to marry me. She didn't even know my name. Hey, I went to a Dr. Trump for my eyes. I wonder if your Dr. Trump is related to my Dr. Trump. Well, no, he's no longer in there, and he's oh yeah, Midwest Eye Consulting. That thing's huge. That's like a huge network, and Rhonda actually works for him now. She's like in the accounting part, and yeah, the Dr. Trump that we were going to, I think, is now the CEO, and so I wonder if that's like a kid of Dr. Trump's. And for anyone on YouTube who wonders if we're talking about Warsaw, Poland, no. This is Warsaw, Indiana. I once Googled restaurants in Warsaw because I figured I was in Warsaw at the time, and I thought the location would figure it out for me. No. Rich, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. Didn't know if you were brushing me off because it was just a picture of the brush. Now you're penciling me in.
You know, there's a whole comic page right here. Man. Can you see that, or do you need to go
Oh
back?
yeah, hey, it's right there.
Or do you need to go back to Midwest Eye Consulting? I thought my eyes were going. You're right-sided.
Yeah, yeah, I'm right-sided.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Aaron, I would guess that those are father and son. Small world.
So if anyone's wondering, I'm looking at references. Or trying to. Anyway.
He has to go through all the clickbait ads.
I'm looking through references on my laptop.
Yeah,
Just saying, you know.
okay.
What I want to do is find an accurate reference for this part. Because I'm seeing something different.
Okay.
There's three main muscles in the shoulder that comic artists identify as it's the three delta heads or something like that, deltoid heads or something. I can't remember what they're called.
There you go.
But usually it's 1, 2, and then the front part's 3. But he's so far forward, I'm trying to find a reference that not only is like that, but also is lit in a useful way.
I had to think about that for a minute.
You had to think about what?
Well, when you pause slightly after lit, you said I have to find one that's lit. You paused slightly, so my brain was like, "Oh, he has to find a cool picture."
Well, yeah.
But
in lieu of actually making a cool picture, because you know
so that's why when you
that's not something I do.
it was when you paused, I was like, okay, why don't you just find one that's accurate and make it cool? That was what was going through my brain. But then I realized, oh, you mean lit, like lit appropriately, like with the light in the right place.
Yeah, right. That's
So,
what I meant.
like I said, my brain had to process. I was being a little slow, fixated on the wrong part.
So, I'm using one of the guys from Conan the Barbarian.
Yeah.
one of the two bad barbarians.
Yeah.
Actually, the one that had the longer hair and not the mustache. But it reminded me of a bodybuilder that's friggin' huge and ripped and is 5'4".
Okay.
So yeah, like I mean, the way I recognized it when I first saw a picture of him is that he's in a competition and he's got his arm up and folded like this, but his forearm is so much shorter. But what's interesting about that is we're talking about a character that's short in stature but big as in build. This guy's literally an inch shorter than Wolverine or something. Let's see if I can show you. Trying to find the place to put it that I can open the picture up and still be able to share it. I figured it out.
Okay.
The guy in the middle.
Priest.
Yeah, Lee Priest.
Okay.
If so, I'm showing him next to two different guys, and one of them's like 5'8" or something like that. The other one's over 6. See if I can find a picture of him. Without that size comparison, like when I just showed you, I'm gonna get rid of this one. I'm gonna get rid of that completely. I'm gonna share one more picture and then I'll go back to work. So, without the comparison in size,
God, his freaking thighs are huge.
right? But you saw him standing next to those other guys, and he didn't look big at all. But without the other guys in comparison,
Right?
he looks pretty freaking huge.
So last night after dinner, we went out to a Chinese buffet, and
After
walking
dinner?
out, huh?
Second dinner? I said
No, I
after
mean
dinner? Second
we had
dinner?
gone out to a Chinese buffet, and on the way out of it, I was just shuffling along because my belly's full, and I'm done. And my boys were getting mad at me for being slow, and I was like, "Look, I worked hard all day. I don't need to rush." And my son just, without missing a beat, just goes, "I was pretty flaccid all day. I don't know what you're doing around all those kids." Just like, oh my god, that's terrible. Uh,
I would say why you had why did you have it out to see if it was plastic?
uh, I just sometimes those boys just they get their zingers in, and I just, and as often as not, I tend to find them just hilarious. I suppose that's a good thing that I like hanging out with my boys, but sometimes that boy is just not right.
The irony is, I wanted to see if I could simplify this some.
Ah, yeah, that sounds like you. Always simplifying. It's just like you're always, oh, I just got to do this one little thing. 15 minutes later, I just got what's one more little thing?
I got it from
Great.
Colombo.
You're
leave
always
me alone.
pushing things. I just find it funny. Uh,
I got it from Colombo.
yeah. Well, still, I mean, I think, art-wise, it works.
Go. I said we're going.
Oh, God. Ah, that was terrifying. Glad I did not shriek like a girl. That's
I'm glad too.
ah, my loving wife brought me a beverage, and I did not really hear. Like I thought I heard her cough or whatever, but I wasn't thinking anything about it. I just leaned over, and there's this hand dangling a pop, and because she's trying to stay out of camera, which plenty of room to do, but she's just trying to avoid that. But it's just when you're not expecting to see a hand and a pop just hovering in the air.
Oh, I'm sure she could be an adequate hand model. She's welcome to make a guest appearance on camera if she wants to.
She has her auditory contributions.
Yeah, she coughs a lot. And she's definitely a character when it comes to telling the dog and cat to get the fuck out.
I always find it funny that the dog has been pretty well trained, that we can tell her to F right off and she goes right to her chair. She won't necessarily stay there for long, but she'll at least forlornly go, trying to make you feel guilty the entire way. So, like if you're eating or something, tell her, you can just F right off, dogs. F right off. She'll slink away. I was thinking I need to get a little, like, case almost where I can slip a Dr. Pepper in, like on her collar. So it could be like one of those St. Bernard rescue dogs, but it's got a Dr. Pepper there. It's like, yeah, I need a picture of that. So it's Biscuit's the rescue dog. God, last night I was playing with her. She got a rope for Christmas for her because she didn't have it. She chewed through all of her toys, whatever. So we got this nylon rope chew toy thing, which she's already pretty well destroyed. But that first night, she's so excited. She wants me to play with her. So I'm holding it, and I'm like, dog, you can't get this away from me. Just taunting her, just telling her it's mine and all that stuff. And so I wasn't really paying attention. I was just holding on to it. And she jerked it hard and snapped my elbow back to where I was like, and had to let go. I was like, well, I guess the dog can't get that from me. Hi, 𝕍𝕀𝕀 Gaming?
Huh.
And I don't know what 𝕍𝕀𝕀 means, but 𝕍𝕀𝕀? Or if that's an acronym, I am not one of the cool kids. Dandadan, 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 dandadan.
What?
I'm just reading 𝕍𝕀𝕀 Gaming's Dandadan, 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 dandadan. Dandadan. It's probably some, ancient witch's curse that if he puts up one more thing, I'll have opened up a portal to some rotten hell like Missouri.
Or it could be like like the Pink Panther theme.
Dan. Well, Dan.
I said like that.
Okay, sorry. I was trying to make it fit. That's all.
Like the idea of like da da da, except for something different.
Okay.
I have no idea. Like, I'm probably way off as well. But I'm much better now. I'm so glad you're inking this.
You keep saying that.
Yeah, because I'm going to send you the pages.
Like, that's really interesting. I don't know how to do that. Oh, wow. Well, 𝕍𝕀𝕀𝕀 Gaming. I can see hay. And that's as far as I've got. Because I don't understand any of that. Sorry. I am an uncultured swine.
I would say
Giants fights and never die. Thanks.
Cut and paste it in. Oh, wait a minute.
It's either that or Giants fight and never
somebody
die.
knows you.
I'm going to guess. Which is funny because that would have been like someone from
Your high school class?
Oh, yeah, just different building and all. Because I don't really say that at all where I currently am. And I never asked them to do it. I guess I don't think I did. I think that was last year when I tried that.
Well, maybe it's someone letting you know that they miss you.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Or, if you translate that, it might have a whole story about how you can go get fucked.
Yeah, I know. It's always funny. You never know.
Right, because if I don't understand it, I can make up whatever fucking meaning I want to have for it.
Yeah. But I'll run into former students like at Walmart or something. And some of the ones that were the absolute biggest turds in class are so nice when you see them at Walmart. It's just like, yeah, okay.
Well, they don't have anyone to impress at Walmart.
It could be. I don't know.
I know I had an apprentice that he really just wanted to tattoo all the cute chicks, right?
Well,
but
yeah.
The problem is, well, first of all, if you're a tattoo artist, you shouldn't be just focusing on what you're tattooing on. That's absolutely antithetical to what you're doing for a job. But second of all, he's an apprentice. Why would I give him who's practicing, all of the cute chicks? Because that's just, why the hell would I do that? Because if he screws up, those cute chicks got to wear that forever, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, so I gave him, like, he had a woman come in that wanted a dragon done on her chest. She was not like Playboy material or whatever.
Yeah.
But she was a really, really nice person, and she, loved the tattoo that he did on her. So we're in Walmart about a month after that, and we're in line grabbing some supplies, batch tracing, stuff like that. And this woman sees us, and she comes over, and she's just bragging him up and talking about how she wants to bring her granddaughter in and all this other shit. And he's like, I'll be right back. And so he leaves the line 'cause she's standing behind us in line.
Yeah.
And then I see him 2 aisles down going in the line again, a different line, a different cashier. Like, why wouldn't you want to be in line with somebody who's talking your work up?
Yeah, really.
Especially if you're trying to develop a certain type of clientele, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you may not think she's very pretty, but she's very vociferous about how good of a job you did, and everyone in the store hears her. So instead of leaving while she's complimenting you, you would think, or at least I would think.
Okay, Zach. Dan to Dan is an anime, and I should skip episode 1. Because it's really weird.
Oh, wait a minute. Is that like what the hell was it? Oh crap. Never mind. I can't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, my kids used to watch one. Oh, 𝕍𝕀𝕀𝕀. Like there was an anime called 𝕍𝕀𝕀 or something like that. And I used to mess with them around about it because it was like a run-on term, and you could just 𝕍𝕀𝕀𝕀𝕀𝕀𝕀𝕀𝕀𝕀𝕀.
Oh.
So that's what that reminded me of. When I was a kid, my mom, instead of saying Star Wars, would say Star Wars, and it used to just rankle me. Like I thought she was doing it on purpose, right? Like,
yeah,
it's not Star Wars, it's Star Wars. So jump to me being a parent. And they used to love Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends.
Yeah.
And I used to intentionally fuck that title up. Foster's Imaginary Home for Friends. Now I can see what my mom was getting at.
Nice.
She was like, I'm going to have a good time whether or not you have a good time or not.
There was a girl that my son was dating for a while, and I never, ever, ever called her by her name. Ever. Like if he was going over to her house or something, I'd be like, "Are you going over to Mariachi's band? Okay, good." Or, "Are you going over to Maraschino Cherries? Okay, great." Because her name started with an M, so I just chose anything that started with an M. And that's what I used to refer to her. I don't know why I did that, but,
To get his goat.
Yeah, pretty much. Plus, just to see how long I could keep coming up with different things that start with M that would kind of work.
Yep. And that's totally valid on the dad page.
Yeah.
I know, like, that's It's what we did when they were talking about people that you didn't want your kid going home with. I'm like, I need to give you a list of people that I don't want my kid going home with. So, okay, I'll give you a list of people I don't want my kid going home with. I don't want them going home with pirates, clowns, random members of the YMCA.
God, that's
The
funny.
village people. One-eyed ninjas.
Translate or your curse with
Pirates.
no. I have no idea what that even is. I mean, other than it's binary. But I don't know what the pound is.
Well, English money.
No, the pound sign, man. It's not the pound sign for money.
What's in between
Although
those
there
two
is a
pound
dollar bill
signs?
there.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. What's inside those 2 pound signs? It ain't sand.
And what's funny is that's people don't know what a pound sign is because that's just the hashtag.
Well, see, that's how times have changed. When we were kids, well, when I was a kid, that
Yeah, it
was
was
a
a pound
tic-tac-toe. That was a tic-tac-toe sign.
There wasn't a pound sign?
No, I said when I was a kid, it was a tic-tac-toe sign.
Well, okay. I still knew it as a pound sign.
When I was a kid, you probably didn't. When I was a kid, you
What's that?
probably thought of it as a noisemaker.
Enjoy your Disadventure Camp Carnival of Chaos episode 4.
What?
He said he was leaving. He has to watch people react to Disadventure Camp Carnival of Chaos episode 4.
Who?
So I said, good night and enjoy your Disadventure Camp Carnival of Chaos episode 4.
Right, I said who, because you said he, and he is, I'm not looking at the screen. So.
Oh, it's Zach.
I have not read the next page.
Okay. There's a giant monster that comes up and gets him.
Like right off.
Oh, well, hold on a second. Page 8. So he's in the sewer. It says panel 1. Tentacles rise up from the sewer behind Mastiff. There's a caption. And there's panel 2. Close up of Mastiff. Tentacle wrapped around his throat. Or wrapping around his throat. I don't really care. And then
Well,
panel
you can't
3.
show the active. You can't show action. You just have to wrap it around.
Well,
the
I don't know how tight you want it because it could be before it tightens and then the next one is tight, but it's up to you. Right? I wrote just tentacle wrapped around his throat.
Yep. That's the best bet because you can't show it you can't show it in action. It's like somebody drops their keys and picks them up. You can't do it in a panel. So I'm gonna have to add a panel if that's how many panels are there?
3.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to add a fourth one because she's got to get out of this into the next part, right?
Oh, well, okay.
Well, I mean that's not much, but it's enough of adding a panel to show that he's jumping down into the next part or whatever.
Well,
Just enough to know that it's not suddenly from here to him, something.
well, that
rising.
was originally supposed to be on that page, but then you decided to get rid of things. Then.
What?
Because it says panel 4, massive at the edge of the sewers, and then next page is tentacles rise up from the sewer. So, I mean, it's okay. I don't care. I'm just saying.
You want the tentacles to rise up from the sewer and snatch him out of the crawl?
Well, no. But again,
Okay,
I had.
that's what I'm talking about. Like I'm adding a panel to show that he's no longer in the crawl when the tentacles rise up. So like I can just show him jumping down. You know what I mean? And then when he's standing in the water, it doesn't have to be a big panel. You know what I mean? Just enough to convey the information that he's not in this situation when that happens.
Okay.
You don't have to put any words to it because it's obviously going to be him jumping down. And I would say either the creature rising up or the tentacle wrapping around him would be the big panel on the page, the big center action panel. Like I was saying, also part of the planning for these panels or page planning composition is to tell the story going this way, and this way, so that each panel leads to the next. I tried to do that with the hand reaching towards this, and then the mouse's tail going this way, his hand going into the next panel, but this one's short of the next panel. But for the most part, they read going that way, left to right. That's not necessarily just for you, it's for people that are watching as well that are not sure what I'm doing or why I'm doing it, or if there's a rhyme or reason, I have to say that once in a while because you think I'm trying to tell you something that you already know sometimes, and it's not you that I'm trying to tell, it's those people that may not. I also like the idea of adding a fourth panel so that it changes up the number. So it's not 3 panels and then 3 panels. But I think I'm going to do the composition around a bigger center panel. So like there'll be like an inset panel with him coming out of that, and then the most of it will be I have to read it and think, but what I'm thinking is there's a smaller inset panel that shows him jumping down from where he is. And then the bigger panel is that thing coming up behind him, but maybe there's a tentacle rising or instantly starting to curl around him, but loosely, which the next panel goes into tightening and he's reacting like grabbing the tentacle. Is it plant or animal?
Well, it says it's an animal, but I don't really care.
Well,
I told
but,
you. I was like, well, whatever you want. I mean, I don't know how much you want to draw.
My asking is more for whether or not I'm. So a plant generally it's tendrils, not tentacles, but tentacles usually like have suckers and tendrils don't necessarily. So like when I ask is I'm trying to think about the texture that I'm going to put into it. So it's not they're not just random questions, even though they probably sound like random questions.
Well, on page, I want to say 10. I could just look. I don't know why I'm guessing. Yeah, page 10. It says that it's a giant sewer mole from hell, and then it's a page 9 says it's a mutated star-nosed mole with what beaver tail and tentacles where it's for its snout, kind of like a star-nosed mole. But
you have a thing with star-nosed moles, don't you?
No, that was the thing. I just put it on there.
Why do you mentioned it. You mentioned it also with what could be here.
Well, that's because I didn't know if you wanted to have small ones. Like, technically it could be something where, this is just a really big one. But in the grand scheme of things, I know what needs to be there per se. Like, I know what plot thing it needs to do. So it doesn't. I would keep it a living creature, not it's living. I would not make it a plant. I would make.
You're making it an animal. That's fine. I just was wondering what you were thinking.
Yeah, but if you want like something else, some other design, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it should be something that could be aquatic.
No, Katie's just being an asshole today. In case you couldn't tell, the daughter came home. The dog started growling.
Oh.
But the dog has been an asshole all day. Like my wife kicked him out of the bedroom, and like it's her dog, but she's not a big dog fan.
Yeah.
So he gets on her nerves pretty easily.
Oh.
But that said, like she usually has a little bit more for him than maybe another dog would, or than she would for another dog.
Our dog got a bath today. She'd gotten into something, I don't know what, so we gave her a bath. And I thought it was kind of funny because I came downstairs after she had had her bath, and you could see this little wet. It's more than a footprint because you could see her little feet exactly where they were, and then there's like a round area where her butt was, and then there's a little bit of space, and you could see exactly where the tip of her tail was. It was just like a perfect little outline of her sitting down, which I don't know why, but I found so enthralling. It's like you can see exactly where her tail was. Look, you can see her toes. I don't know.
I go to bed last night, and our dog is in my side, taking up my side of the bed. He's not a little dog. I mean, he's a medium dog, but he's a fat, chunky dog. But I go upstairs, and I'm like, "You need to move," and he looks at me and rolls over, like scratch my belly. I'm like, "No, you need to move out of my way."
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I think I'm gonna call that done. As far as penciling goes. But guess what I have right to hand. Everybody's favorite. Big blank page. By the way, blank pages are as exciting in art as they are in writing. Yeah, tends to be how they start off. That's a good thing. Unless it came with like blue line grids and several variations. That would be nice. All right, I guess I should look at the script, right?
Well, it tends to help.
Technicalities.
Oh, yeah, whatever. No.
Ooh. So, you put it in our Discord DM, right?
I don't know. You want me to share it with you again?
No, I think this is it. The MOS 113024 new format.
Yep.
Okay, so you can, apparently, because I don't know if I can. Nope, it doesn't look like I can. If you click on the three little dots to the side, you know what I mean? When you scroll up and you got the reactions above that post.
Okay.
You can click on that and it'll offer you an option to pin it. And then at the top there's a pin, like looks like a pin on the corkboard.
Yeah.
And then to find it, we could just click on that pin and it'll be there.
Okay.
So anyway, I opened it because I found it, but I think if you pin it, it'll make it easier to find later on. All right, so we're on page 7, right?
Pin message. Now we're on page 8.
Yes, 8.
Okay, well, I hope I pinned it right.
Did it say pin? Yep, it's pinned because there's a little red dot by the pin. Yep. Now we can find it easy. I don't have to scroll back to see it. All right, so I'm going to do an inset panel. Slightly inset. Anyway. That's a good idea.
You must be the anonymous walrus.
What's that?
On the Google Doc, it shows that somebody's looking at it called Anonymous Walrus. So, I'm guessing that would be you.
You shouldn't be.
Well, it simply means that it doesn't know who you are, but it knows that somebody's looking. I have a deep, dark feeling that I'm going to get rid of most of this beard over this break.
You're going to get rid of what?
Most of my beard.
Oh, over spring break or over
Over Christmas break.
Christmas break, right?
It's way too poofy.
I thought you were talking about your midstream break.
No. Yeah, during the midstream. Oh my God, it's 9:30. I'm just gonna go in there and shave, come back, do a whole new person.
You want to get rid of the whole thing, or?
No. But I'm tired of. It's to the stage now where it's hard not to get food in it, and I just hate that.
I have that problem with my mustache.
Well, I have that too, but
well, I've got mustache wax and a mustache comb, but it's kind of a pain to try to keep up with it, and my hair is naturally curly.
Yeah.
So it's naturally tangled all over the freaking place. Oh, I don't think we've done an extreme close-up.
Well, that
That's an
third,
idea.
what was originally the third panel.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Well,
I
in
almost
my
made
brain,
one.
I was thinking that was the shot you want to highlight, but you said the other one, and I was like, well, he's the artist.
Well, because I think that I'm gonna put a little bit of the tentacles in all of them.
Okay.
I really kind of want to use this space, the big space, to do it rising up behind him and the tentacles rising up around him. But also, then the next two panels I can divide into him, putting his hands around it to keep it from strangling him or whatever. And then a close up on his face as his fucking mask comes apart to bite him. Right?
Okay.
I don't know. We'll get there. I don't think we're gonna get there today anyway. But I like the idea. I want to have.
Are you going to sketch it out first? Or are you going to go? Is that the real paper?
That's the real paper.
Okay.
Well, so what I'm doing right now, first of all, what you're talking about are the fun pictures for me. So I don't think there needs to be an overly big amount of work.
Well, I just know that before you had sketched out stuff,
Yeah, you mean
kinda
like
laid it out.
this?
Yeah. And
Yeah, you're talking about layouts.
I don't care. It's your process.
Yeah, you're
As
talking about
you keep producing, I'm like, yep, he knows what he's doing. So I don't worry about it.
So yeah, like you probably might not want to think that.
Okay, well, I figure you know more about what you're doing than I do. So I trust that you'll either do it right or you'll have to do it again. And
Right.
I trust that you would.
And I'm buying the fucking paper, right? So no, I like I know what I want to do here. You're talking about basically a 3-panel page, and I'm just adding this one inset panel to get us from the last page to this page.
Yeah.
I already have an idea in mind. So, I mean, I could make this panel smaller and then this panel bigger, and then have it highlighted. But for right now, I just want to get us from point A to point B.
That's fine.
And that's what I'm doing here, ostensibly.
So the story goes.
Is and also now I'm seeing it in a different light as well.
Uh-oh.
That it's gonna have sewage water on the bottom.
Okay.
So I didn't do that for the crawl because there was no need to do that specifically for the crawl.
Well, no, that'd be kind of weird for the crawl. Because
Wait, well, what's that?
It might have leaks, but
Right. Well, I was thinking, it could have puddles or it could have like a little bit
yeah.
of runoff.
But it shouldn't. Generally speaking, it should be relatively dry. It is for access panels to plumbing and electricity.
Took half the stuff that's hanging up on hooks over my desk down to get to the circle template. Because I wanted this size and this size, which doesn't exist on this circle template. I mean, I could do it here, but it's just so weird, and I can't do it like half off. You know what I mean? So I could do this whole, I don't know if you can see it well, but there's a series of holes here that you put your pencil lead in, and this whole thing turns around.
That's
like
nice.
A dial, like the old dial phones.
Yeah, rotary.
Right. But there's not enough space there to employ that, so.
So I've never watched an episode of Rick and Morty. I know of it. Well, I saw a clip of something of it online today, like on a YouTube short or something. I don't know. And I've seen other clips before, and I generally think this is stupid. I mean, it's just not for me. It's
generally stupid.
But some of the stuff, I was like, yeah, that kind of. It's also kind of smart in a way. Like some of the sci-fi stuff and some of the stuff they think about, they're definitely going after some tropes and kind of poking fun at them, and that was kind of neat. For someone like, I started looking at it more from a writer's perspective, just as because when they take the piss out of a trope, it's one of those things. It's like, oh well, yeah, okay, so it's something that it kind of highlights an issue that I might want to avoid or do when I'm writing science fiction. So I thought it. I don't know if I really want to watch the whole show, but I was like, there might be some value there. Might not be worth watching the whole show. There's at least some value. I'm kind of surprised by all of the hype I'm seeing online for Superman. Especially because
everybody loves fucking crypto.
Well, I was asking my students, we're talking, they're in the 12 to 14 range. It's like, you guys see the trailer for the new Superman? No. They don't know who crypto is. They don't. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I'm just watching them and kind of gauging them just to see what their reaction is, just to kind of see. Like, people were talking about Wicked before the movie came out, right? And you had women making plans to go and all this crap. I'm sure there were some guys doing it too, but it seemed like mostly a chick thing. And you
Wonder
can kind
why.
of gauge. It's like as long as this movie doesn't completely suck, it's kind of got a built-in fan base that seems excited to see it. And when you look online, like on YouTube, that Superman movie seems like it should have the same thing, but I am not seeing that in real life. So,
Really,
yeah, I don't
my
see people talking about it. I don't see people
my
like
timeline's littered with it.
with
Even
people
yeah,
like real people.
yes, real people.
Well, I'm just saying because like I've
So,
seen.
are you in a lot of comic groups?
No, I'm not. That's what I'm saying.
There,
Like I'm.
there you go. I mean, it's specific to people that have been waiting for certain things with Superman. Like I'm actually kind of disgusted about the way they some of them are like basically Henry Cavill had his chance and blah 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 and fucked it up. I'm like, no, first of all, Henry
No,
Cavill didn't plan that movie. He was an actor in that movie.
yeah, he did a good job for what he was given. He was great.
Yeah, well, and you know that's the sentiment is not really that not that. Like I agree with that, but that's not what I'm finding in the Superman fan base. They're either hating on the Zack Snyder universe or they're all about this new universe because it's got brighter colors and it's going to be happier, even though really there's nothing that we've seen doesn't show him either all beat up or sad. There's no smiling pictures of him in that, and he's making out with Lois a lot more than.
Yeah, I know. Well, I still say I don't hear like okay, so and this is what I kind of thought last time I talked to you. I think it's going to be a thing where the comic book fans might like it, but that's not going to be enough to justify the budget that they've given for this. And I don't think
they think that it's a lot of them. All right, so it's a divided thing, like I was saying last time, right? It was 1/3 to 2/3, right? But the 2/3 were accepting, and that was so strange to me. But I'm looking at comic artists that are reacting to it also, and they're like, "Oh, you won me when they put crypto in it," and I'm like, "Really?" Because I always hated crypto. Like,
and
not
that's
and
maybe
I don't care. You know, it's not like I hate the dog or whatever, but the concept of all of a sudden we have a
super dog.
well, a dog from Krypton that survived. How the fuck did he survive? Like, just bullshit.
Yeah, I agree.
And Superman's
always
been
thought it was
here.
a dumb character.
Like, I don't need crypto in a movie, not at all. And they already had a cartoon movie with crypto in it, right? So
Yeah.
it just doesn't. I don't need any of it, right? So it's not for me, clearly.
Well, they're going to go up. I mean, to me, this is where they start trying to get into too much camp, or they try to make it more positive. But they end up being campy, and it doesn't go over well. It might go over fine with some comic book fans, but the kind of money that these movies have to make, I think you can't just rely on comic book fans. I think you have to appeal to a large audience.
So like Ethan Van Sciver was talking about it, and he's like, I don't think I like the preview. And the interesting thing about it is that he was like one of the voices, bigger voices, talking about how Superman is supposed to be the ideal superhero. You know, he's not dark. He's not what Zack Snyder was making him out to be either. But then he's like Tom Tom King is involved in this, and then everybody's like, "Oh, really?" So it's like Tom King is known for interjecting his political bullshit into it.
I just I still have some major reservations about this film. One, I don't think it looks as good as it should. And that's just from a trailer, so who knows? Two, I think normies aren't going to really buy into it. And three, I think it's going to be way too busy. So, like when they were showing stuff, and I'm like, okay, all right, I get that you're doing fan service. I think you've done a terrible job with Green Lantern, but whatever.
Oh,
And
Guy Gardner.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
he just looks stupid. And
He does, and what I hear the comic book fans saying out of it is, "Oh, he's the worst Green Lantern, and nobody likes him anyway." And
so then why are you putting him in the film?
Exactly, like that's my thoughts exactly. So if he sucks so bad, why is he a main character in the film?
Yeah, why not give me a character I want to see more of? So, yeah, there's some of that stuff, and yeah, I hope it does well. I hope it's a great film. Um, so far, though, I'm just not really sold on it, and I don't see this saving Warner Brothers' backside. So, we'll see.
Well, like Ethan Van Sciver was saying that he looks like he's getting beat up all through the ad, all through the trailer, and who wants to go and see Superman get beat up? And
that might be another reason why I think it's more like the WB, because the WB has done
these
their best to just destroy Superman.
These same people that, well, okay, I'll get to that in a second. These same people who are saying that it's going to be happy and bright and now I lost my train of thought. But what I was going to get to in a second was James Gunn was saying that movies aren't selling very well anymore, so it's not that the medium is not viable anymore. It's that they're not treating it like TV, and TV is selling all over the place. Everybody's watching TV. So he intends to make this Superman like TV, for what that's worth.
Well, again, I mean, they do everything they can to make
now I know.
Superman seem weak.
Now I know what I was thinking and what I was saying. These same people that are talking about Henry Cavill only playing actually Superman in one Superman movie. The other movies were Justice League and whatever. They're not saying anything about the fact that there's Hawk Girl and Green Lantern and the other cast of characters that are going to come to Superman's aid. Like, where's that when you're talking about? You know what I mean? Like, where's that when you're talking about?
I just think the hype.
Henry Cavill only he had 3 movies, and
I think the hype seems manufactured more than anything else. Like, I don't think it's natural. I don't think people are naturally excited for this film. I just really don't.
Yeah, and it's
I'm sure there are some. Don't get me wrong.
It's still got till June. So, like, I am a member of a couple of different comic fan pages, which is how I'm seeing a lot of this. But what's kind of really disappointing to me about that is that like I've never been a super huge Superman fan. Like I watch the movies and I like the movies, but it's not like a draw. Like I'm gonna watch every Superman thing that's ever put out, or that's not the it's not the kind of fan I am. I'm not literally a fanatic.
Okay.
I don't. He's not my favorite superhero.
Okay.
I am in the much more realistic type superheroes, but I do understand the attraction to having an ideal hero, someone that you should try to live up to, or someone that you should try to emulate. You know,
Yeah.
I do understand the attraction to that. It's just Superman, I think, and I'm thinking that Dave Farland nailed it for me when he said Superman's main problem is that he's really indestructible. They had to literally create some way of hurting him. Like, but all of his, like, all of the enemies that he has on Earth, they're not worthy of him being a hero, right?
Right.
They're not going to ever match up to him. Like, and then I don't know about you, but I haven't seen any of the Lex Luthors that I've gone. That's what I think of when I think of Lex Luthor. Like, even Gene Hackman, who was a great actor, he wasn't what I thought of when I thought of Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor and Lex Luger. I'm conflating wrestlers now.
Yeah, I guess.
And who's playing him now in this one? I like the actor. I just don't see him. I don't see him pulling it off believably for me.
Yeah, I don't really either. And
I like Nicholas Hoult. Don't get me wrong. I loved him when he was playing Tolkien in War. He was good in Renfield, even though Renfield was kind of a stinker of a movie. He was pretty good in Fury Road, although, you know, kind of the same thing. It was a stinker.
no, Fury Road was wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a great movie. Although, you know, plot-wise, it still has a problem, which I think I've done before, where you go somewhere, then you just go back. It's a stupid, it's bad plot structure.
Yeah,
But
there was no point to that movie because it was escape and then luck into victory, and you know that's just crap.
yeah, it should have just kept on going.
And I
That was the
didn't,
problem.
so
Was returning.
I didn't have a problem with Ferosa. I did have a problem that it wasn't really a Mad Max movie; it was a Ferosa movie. And I didn't have a problem with it being for a Ferosa movie, but the problem is that they sold me on a Mad Max movie, so it was a bait and switch for me. Like that was my major problem with that movie. That and the plot of where I'm gonna take all of these women that are basically what the hell is that Margaret Atwood book that everybody thinks Trump's going to make everybody?
Oh, Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah. So basically, they were the handmaids from Handmaid's Tale, but only set in. Um,
In a post-apocalyptic world versus a
well,
more modern
set
one.
set in uh, Mad Max's world. Like
Yeah.
I'm trying to give as much credit as I possibly can to the Mad Max end of it. The problem is that it's difficult. It's difficult to give it a lot of Mad Max credit.
That is an
Um,
interesting perspective. Like, first off, there's a huge disconnect, I think, from the original three with the two modern ones. Because the original three have a look that they kind of share, even though there's evolution there. Whereas
well,
the two modern ones share a look, but they don't share a look with the first three.
well, I kind of thought they did that with the cars
A little
and with
bit.
the desert. I actually like the color palette a little bit better in the newer ones, but it's a color
Yeah,
palette that
but
they really couldn't do with the older ones.
right,
Uh,
but
that said, though, I mean, they're how do I word this? I can see Immortan Joe,
yeah.
but I just think that was another excuse to use that actor, because to me, I can still see Knight Rider in him, and he wasn't really a great actor.
No.
Um, they had Nathan, oh, what's his name? Nathan Jones. He was playing the big dude that was Immortan Joe's son,
Yeah.
the huge dude. He is a
Yeah.
huge dude. He's like 6'6" or 8 or something like that, and he's really huge. He was in Troy too, but he lasted for like one quick
Oh, I know.
scene.
Yeah, you're right. I know who you're talking about now. I've seen that scene.
Yeah, he was also in uh it's a Jet Li movie, and I can't think of the name of it. Not Hero, but
Yeah.
it was one of them where he was playing a boxer and he was a huge dude. But he is a huge dude. He does play a bad guy well. They
Well,
just don't give him enough roles or speaking parts.
well,
I would have loved to see him as, like the next step from Humunculus.
yeah, humongous.
That would have been an evolution I would have been all right with. Cross the Immortan Joe look with Humunculus,
Well,
but
whatever.
they drop the ball on that kind of stuff very often. They don't take advantage of what they've got.
Well, but I still find it interesting that you think of it, as Mad Max films, and there's no reason not to.
Well, they
Especially as
were
the first three were
advertised as
very
Mad
much Mad
Max.
Max films. But the second
Like,
two, or the second set, I guess, the modern ones, um, the emphasis has been, I think, more on the world.
well, that's true, but they advertised Fury Road as Mad Max Fury Road.
Well, I get that, and I just
They didn't with the next one. You know what I mean? So the next one, I don't have a problem with that. I wasn't interested in seeing it, but I didn't feel like it was a bait and switch because they outright told you it was going to be a Furiosa movie.
okay, but so I've been thinking for a while that if you think about intellectual properties, and it's kind of what I've said with Star Wars before, that Star Wars needs to get off this thing about it needs to have movies about the Skywalker saga. It's like you don't need those. You can people come to Star Wars just as much for the universe as they do for any particular character. And you don't have to have it be about Luke Skywalker and family. So Star Wars. It can be a Star Wars film. It's not a Luke Skywalker film. Uh, but yeah, Mad Max kind of has to be a Mad Max film.
Well,
And
especially when you put his name in the title, like
right,
if you don't,
so I mean,
if you don't put
maybe
his name in the title, then
maybe that's something to keep in mind is don't make it about it. I mean, if you want an IP that lasts, for science fiction and fantasy, you have the option, I think, better than probably anything else, where it's more about people in the world, or at least you have more ways to explore it. I don't know, but I just same way with the MCU. I said, the MCU, you have characters that people like and whatnot, but there's a whole bunch of stuff going on, and you don't. It doesn't have to just all be about Iron Man, or they don't all have to have Wolverine in them. You can kind of explore different avenues.
oh, you see who they're talking about having played Jean Grey now?
No, who?
The redhead from Stranger Things.
Okay. I don't know how old she is.
Oh, I don't know how old they're planning on making Jean Grey.
That's true.
The picture that I saw was like the 1960s with the mask that has points on it, and gold mask that has points on it.
Oh.
So it wasn't the like red or blue or yellow team or whatever.
I think I would prefer to watch an X-Men team built up like they built up the Avengers in the MCU, where we can be invested in each individual character, and then they form the X-Men. But
yeah, but that's not the way the X-Men were formed.
I know that.
I mean, that said, that's how it works so well for the Wolverine movies, because you're seeing him separate from the X-Men. But I don't think there's ever been really like a Scott Summers book. I don't think he could actually sustain one. I mean, he might be able to, but I have not seen anything that made me think that was the case. Trying to think, like they could do that with Gambit and Rogue and Wolverine and maybe Colossus, but I think pretty much all of the other ones. I mean, Colossus, they got into a separate story, but I think that was mostly because of his sister.
Oh, I don't know. There was the storyline where Colossus becomes the Juggernaut.
Well, yeah, that's much later though.
Yeah,
And like that, we're talking about. So, I'm actually talking about in direct relationship to what you were saying about showing the team members as a separate story and then building it up. But Colossus has a separate story with him and his sister escaping Russia and the experiments that they were doing on them in Russia. So they could do a Colossus film if they will try to do it that way. I don't think they will though. But what instead of doing Colossus and a lot of the the better, more known characters, they're pulling out these characters nobody really sees or cares about, or they're just such edge-lined characters, right? U.S. Agent, right? U.S. Agent. Don't get me wrong. Uh, I like the idea. The idea uh, was born of a Mike Zeck cover where he did Captain America actually wielding a gun, and Captain America doesn't wield guns. You know, that's his big thing, big stick. Uh, but
He does.
but yeah, not like that. But there was the fans really wanted to see that. They really wanted to see what came of that. So, but after, so what they did was create that and have Steve Rogers retire, and they created U.S. Agent, and U.S. Agent was like, first of all, he was going to be like the honorable replacement for Steve Rogers, and then it was he committed some crime where he wasn't a worthy representative in that way anymore. But unless you've been reading Captain America for a long time, most people don't know who U.S. Agent is. And I know because, like, being a mod in the David Finch fan server, we do these drawing challenges, right? And one of my drawing challenges was U.S. Agent. And they really didn't know who he was. And these are people that are current fans. So
he had a costume like Captain America's, except for where Captain America's was blue, his was black. He had like the weird swashbuckling boots and stuff, and
yeah, but originally he had Captain America's uniform, and then it was sideways stripes with a 1-star. Yeah, it really doesn't matter. And then the shield had US on it.
yeah.
And I'm not saying that you wouldn't know or recognize the character, but what I'm saying is that most of the younger generation, it's an obscure character.
Yeah.
So, like, it's much more obscure than the X-Men team. That's what I was getting at, is that it's how big is that hole? That's a big hole.
Good night, Aaron.
Decisions. Yeah. Because I represented that hole bigger on the last page.
I would also prefer to see better built up villains for the X-Men. That was something that people enjoyed about the Avengers, was the buildup of Thanos, over multiple properties. That way he could develop as a villain, I guess.
Yeah, but you have a crossover anyway.
But when you get a villain for one movie and one movie only, it's like, oh, well, okay, it wasn't that big of a deal.
Which villain was for one movie only?
Well, so in the X-Men, well, Phoenix got 2 movies, but they were separate things entirely. And yeah, there's Magneto, but the second one, it was
Magneto, Sabretooth been in a few of them.
but he's never. Magneto's been in some, but again, it doesn't build up to him. He's there from the beginning, and he just stays there. He doesn't grow really. He stays stagnant, and relative, and he's defeated in the first film.
Yeah, but Magneto keeps getting defeated and keeps coming back.
Well, that's why I do like him, but
so I mean, it doesn't matter if he's defeated. It matters if he's defeated for good.
Okay, sure.
Well, because that's the way it is in the comic books.
Yeah, but it's also normally built up over time, and the threat occurs for more than one issue, and so some of the stuff where.
Well, to be fair though, so a 4 or 5 issue run is a graphic novel, and that would be the equivalent of a movie as a graphic novel, right?
I don't know
Not
if
just
that's
not
necessarily
just not just one issue. It's going to be one story arc.
Yeah, well, okay, then fine. They don't build them up very well during the films because they don't have enough time to do it.
I don't know. I didn't feel cheated at all. Like I wasn't super happy with the costume. I thought that there was some backstory to Magneto, and they showed him in the German prison camp separated from his mom, and
the first 3 X-Men films, Magneto already has his powers at the beginning, and he is the major villain of the first film. But by the second and third film, he's relegated to secondary status, and so there's always a new big bad that doesn't really so they develop Magneto, which is great, but he's not. It doesn't lead anywhere. Like, he doesn't grow into a bigger threat. He just, yep, that's Magneto's there. We all like him. Yay.
Yeah, but where did Magneto go in the comic book? He ended up running things for Charles.
Uh-huh.
I'm just saying, I mean, he did grow and change and become kind of a good guy, so he was never like an outright bad guy for no particular reason. He was the head of the Mutant Liberation Front, so they were trying to.
You're completely missing my point. The point is that in the films, like the Avengers, where you have Thanos built up over time, where he is allowed to develop as a threat that keeps, we find out that it's Thanos that sends Loki. It's so we've established something of a threat, and we've watched the threat be kind of on the peripheral, and then he comes on home, and he's a massive threat. He's it's built up some of the anticipation. We don't have that with any of the Fox films, none. So I'm not saying that one's truer or more accurate to the comic books. I'm saying one worked a hell of a lot better than the other. One franchise did at one point outperform the other one immensely. And I think it's because ultimately it was set up with more care. Nothing was rushed. Things had time to develop. And there were places where adjustments could be made if they needed to be.
I don't think it's an equal comparison, but okay. Because the Infinity Gauntlet was a huge, huge crossover with many, many comic books. So it naturally had to build up over several movies to get there.
The Phoenix,
it's not the, but it's
the
not
Phoenix
the.
Saga should have been the same way.
I don't know if that's true.
Okay,
I mean, you're talking about X
Yes,
comic
it-
books,
it
but
works
other
pretty
than
well in the
X
films,
comic
right?
books, was Spider-Man in the Phoenix Saga?
Yes, Spider-Man literally defeated the Dark Phoenix.
Did he?
Yes.
Have to go back and look at that because it's been a long time. So
Well, he does. He develops. He
no,
becomes like Cosmic Spider-Man or something. He starts
the
having shooting like adamantium webs and all kinds of weird ass stuff. He has no idea why he's doing it, and it's all set up so that he can fight Dark Phoenix.
so you're talking about Secret Wars
No,
because that's where he gets Venom.
yeah, I know that's where he gets Venom, but this I'm telling you, it's in the comics. But again, it's not here nor there. It's just simply a matter of you can say, well, the Infinity Gauntlet had a bigger run. Okay, cool. But
I'm just saying, like if you're telling a story that is a massive crossover between a massive amount of comic books, of course it's going to be a bigger build up than
was it a massive
Magneto.
crossover in the movies though?
What?
See, this is what I'm talking about. In the films, the Infinity Gauntlet, the range of it is pared down immensely to fit in with the films. And
In
so
the
when we
films,
said these big crossover events, like
there's
okay,
like
cool.
10 different movies that have little bits of the Infinity Gauntlet at the end. Little tiny snippets, but they're it's like the purpose of that movie was to get that particular piece of the Infinity Gauntlet. So I mean and yeah, that's not the same as telling fucking Magneto's story.
If I thought it was the same, I would say, yeah, they're both equal. I've established the fact that they're not the same. That's why I can judge them on.
I
Well,
guess maybe
one
I'm
works better
missing that
than the other.
because to me you were saying that you didn't like the fact that they didn't do that with Magneto.
No, you were the one that brought up Magneto as a character that they have in multiple films, and I said, but they never really build him up.
Right.
He starts off one way, and he basically stays that way. There's a little bit of tweaking, but for the most part,
and I'm saying that
character arc is very shallow.
Right, but you also compared that to Thanos. Like you were saying, they didn't do that.
The same.
They didn't do that like they did with Thanos, and I'm saying because it's a different type of story. It was that one, just different types of story.
Right, and I'm saying one works better than the other. I'm not saying they're the same, and I'm simply evaluating one and saying, you know what, that worked better than that. Now, if you want to say that you could do that story, the type of story that they did with the Fox universe, and you could elevate it in some way so that it is better or as good as what they had done with the Avengers, all right, that's cool. I'd love to know how you would do that because I can't fathom how to do it. The way I would have done it would have been the way because I'm looking at an example. So I guess I'm not being super creative here. I'm simply saying I looked at that example and it seems to work out well, and I think it could be applied to an X-Men type universe. And they never have done that. That's it. So saying I'm not saying it's the same story. I'm saying this is a story structure that I think they could have employed, and it would have been more interesting. Like if they knew they wanted to get to Dark Phoenix and X3, then we should have seen a heck of a lot of more of that in X-Men 1 and X-Men 2. Like it should have been built up better. Instead, it's like, all right, we're good in X-Men 1, we're good in X-Men 2. Oh, hey, Dark Phoenix. And it doesn't seem developed. It's just rushed. And Magneto could be a character like that if they wanted to, but I also understand keeping Magneto, at the beginning, and then he doesn't necessarily need to grow. Or, like you said in the comics, he eventually took over the school as a positive force, or generally positive force, which they kind of did a little bit in the Dark Phoenix films. Or where they had like their own island for a while, but I just, to me, I would have rather seen, if they want to do Dark Phoenix, cool. They did her twice, but they never really built up to her. And again, the fact that you're doing it twice, just please get it right at least once. They never really did. They could have done the same thing with Apocalypse, but they gave him one film. In fact, the X-Men really should have an Apocalypse storyline that starts off with, and if you want to do it in 3 films, you have Magneto at the beginning because it's fine. You're going to establish all of your players and stuff, whatever. He can be defeated. The second one should be Mr. Sinister because now you're getting closer. You're on a track towards Apocalypse. And then after Mr. Sinister is defeated, that's when and you have to have hints that Apocalypse is somewhere the entire time. So that there are hints in the first film that are developed more in the second film and then pay off in the third. But we never did that.
They dropped the ball on Apocalypse as well because we didn't see Death Angel. We didn't see the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse.
Dude, I think that could actually, like, a really easy way of doing that, I guess, would be Archangel would be in the first film as Archangel. And I would have him working with Magneto, and somewhere there would be a line about, my boss isn't going to like that or something. And he's saying that to Magneto, so you know that there's someone else that he actually works for. And that's all you got to have. That's all you need for the first film. You have now indicated the existence of Apocalypse to everyone who knows the story. You've implied that this guy is more scared about this other threat than Magneto, even though Magneto's a badass in his own right. So you have that connection. I think that it's a great way to do it in the first film. The second film, if you wanted to have the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse under Mr. Sinister, you've just really
So I just think it would be awesome to show the creation.
Oh, yeah, that would be neat. And then the third film would be Apocalypse as the ultimate payoff. So that's the kind of thing that I'm saying. I think you could have built up a better movie sequence. And to be fair, I never saw the Infinity Gauntlet necessarily as an Avengers story because I was always more interested in X-Men. So I was seeing it more from that perspective when it came out. So I understand what you're being like. It's, there's a huge crossover there. That Infinity Gauntlet.
It's funny because when I think of Infinity Gauntlet, I actually think of Silver Surfer.
That makes sense.
Because it was like Ron Lim's Silver Surfer, where Thanos was really, really prominent in a lot of Ron Lim Silver Surfers.
Yeah. But that's the kind of thing I'm saying for the stories. Is it's not that Magneto was a bright spot in the original films. It's just I don't think the rest of it was.
Yeah, I didn't like their choice for Sabretooth.
Which one?
In the original film.
Okay.
Big Sky or whatever he was. He was a wrestler. I liked Liam. What the hell is his name? Liam.
It's Liv.
Shriver.
Liev Schreiber. Liev Schreiber. That's who it was in Wolverine Origins.
Yeah. He had a couple of. I think he had a couple of times playing him. Yeah. Anyway, I liked him playing him. He didn't look the part, but I liked him playing him.
Yeah, it's kind of what I thought. I thought the other guy looked the part, but didn't necessarily play him right. So if you could kind of combine the two.
Right. Well, put some makeup on Liev Schreiber.
Yeah.
Like they did for Rebecca Ramin Stamos, or
Oh,
whatever
yeah.
her name is.
Sometimes I think this is pure conjecture because I've never been in the situation, I guess. But this is how I imagine it, I suppose. You get producers that know certain buzzwords at the very least, and so they want to see them. And so you get some of these movies that are crammed full of this stuff that gets rushed, and so it doesn't get developed because they want to see it in that movie. Like, it's just too many ideas. And, you kind of see this with Spider-Man 3, where they were just cramming way too many characters in. They were
Conan 2011.
What?
Conan 2011.
Yeah, just
that's really what destroyed that movie, is that they were trying to use Conan the Pirate, Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Gladiator, Conan the General. You can't have them all. If you want to show his pirate aspect, and that's supposedly the crew from Queens of the Black Coast, or Queen of the Black Coast, then you need to do the story from Queen of the Black Coast, right?
Or just make it it doesn't have to be, I don't think it has to be any particular thing from the source material. People might want to see it, but again, if it works, doesn't contradict the source material.
But see, here's the thing, is that they are trying to use the source material, but they're trying to use every little aspect of it in one movie. And Conan, that's the thing with Conan, is that he grew over the series of adventures. It wasn't just one and done.
Right.
But they thought if they could, get as much information in, then people would love Conan as much as, they did. But the problem is, they didn't start off knowing everything about Conan. They had to learn, right?
Right.
And that was part of the fun, is you're reading the books and learning who he is and what he is and how he grows and all that. Same thing with your build up to the villains and the other movies.
Yeah.
But that's the flaw of Conan the Barbarian 2011, is that they tried to give Jason Momoa like every single Conan role in one, and he shouldn't have. He had to develop that.
Right. Like I would have been fine. Like, the books outline it pretty well. I mean, decently enough. I think you could cobble together. I don't think Conan's origin is as well known as, say, like Batman's or something.
Well, no, because
on film.
because Robert E. Howard didn't give him an origin.
Right.
He didn't give him an origin story.
I can understand like a kind of like an origin story where we meet the character, um, and he has one type of adventure, and it would probably be more of the barbarian type for me, but maybe not. I don't know. I just think whatever. And if that sells well, and you give the audience kind of what they want, but when they start tiring about maybe that, that's when you start exploring other aspects of Konya. Like it's a character that grows, unlike James Bond, which is James Bond all the time and never really does anything different. Conan develops, so you have more room to play, and if handled well, it would have been a great property, I think. But I'm the English teacher from Indiana. I don't know squat about what sells. If I did, I suppose I'd be selling.
Well, Hollywood doesn't know squat about what sells anymore either. They just copy what they did sell in the last decade or two or whatever.
Yeah.
They're not paying attention to what people are telling them at all, really.
Sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. But the part of the problem is you have instigators that. Well, here's how I think the different sides are. People who are more conservative will say things like, "I don't want a lot of politics in my entertainment. I want escapism." And people on the left are like, "If you don't put my politics in your escapism, you're evil." It's like compelled speech, and conservatives aren't really into it. And some of it's not a perfectly it's not a perfect dichotomy. There's some bleed on both sides, but when because people say, "Oh, you've always liked politics in your entertainment. It was just politics that aligned with what you thought," and it's like, yeah, because up until like 10 minutes ago, most of the world thought some of these things, and now all of a sudden you're telling me that some basic biology is wrong because the science.
I don't care so much about if a character has politics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if the character has politics. That's not what's going to stop me from watching a movie. What's going to stop me from watching the movie is when the whole movie is preachy about somebody else's politics. A character can believe what they want to believe. I don't have to agree with them, and chances are I might not. But when the whole movie is preaching that, oh, if you went to war, you're a scumbag no matter what because you went to war, that's just crap politics. Now, if somebody in the movie's opinion is that's okay, that's valid, just so long as you show me somebody who doesn't agree. As far as politics go, I don't mind.
Well, it's just like I could watch
politics if there's equal representation, I guess. Sorry, I just.
Well, I mean, that's like, I think you and I have discussed at least a little bit. If WB wanted to make a buddy cop show for Green Lantern and Green Arrow, like the comics were, where Green Lantern was more of the conservative and Green Arrow was more of the hippie liberal. We might not like Green Arrow as much, but we'd be like, well, whatever, that's what he is. That's what he does, And because, it wouldn't be that, oh, half the country is evil and deplorable. It would simply be, that's what like maybe he says that, but then the Green Lantern, whichever one you got, wouldn't say that. And, you would have something that doesn't just tell you, yeah, we hate you, and please watch our show, but we hate you.
Right.
And there's a lot of stuff in Hollywood which is basically, you owe us money, you must watch this, and we hate you. It's like, no.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, like, it's not politics I'm against. It's the fact that you're preaching there's only one type of politic. That's why I was saying, like, in ours, I didn't want to have politics be a main issue, because I wanted to, first of all, open it up to anybody that wanted to read it, but second of all, I'm not 100% on either side anyway. I'm just on the side that I think is righter at the moment. I guess, I probably lean heavily Republican these days, but
that's because Democrats have gone so far left.
On an overall though, like, I think that there are plenty of good ideas. I disagree with how to implement those ideas, or how to fund those ideas, or whether or not they should be forced upon somebody, right? So there's a lot more to it than just that. And most of the time when you see politics in fiction, they simplify it to just that, right?
Yeah.
Like, all Republicans think one way, all Democrats think another way, and I don't think that's true to any of them or fair to any of them.
I agree.
And that's what makes it hard for me to go and watch something when I know every little bit of it's going to just be downing something I like, or something that I believe is right. You can have your opinions. We can disagree. That's fine. We do it. And we're pretty close to the same kind of political persuasion.
Yeah.
But we still have our disagreements. We still have our things that we're passionate about, not seeing.
We fight about our art.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm just saying, like, we can still be friends and not agree.
Right.
But the problem is that most fiction doesn't foment that. It does the opposite. It tries to break people apart, tear people down, stop people from believing what they believe, instead of giving me your point of view or their point of view, right?
Right.
What they're really trying to do is make me see how I'm an idiot or a scumbag. And I don't think that should be the case for anybody. I love the least, if I'm watching a movie and I don't have a lot of politics, that's a movie I'm going to enjoy. Or if the politics are self-contained, which, when I say self-contained, I mean like Judge Dredd's politics is not, real world politics. They are the politics of Mega City, and their whole system is different than our reality. So I can accept a lot more of that on that basis. Like, I watched, just finished watching Fallout.
Okay.
And I was fine with it up until the last episode. And in the last episode, everyone that's not of the communist mind is fucking evil capitalist.
Well, they always like to do that.
Well, but it was blatant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, fortunately, they only did that for a small kind of a scene, but to me, it kind of resonated with the fact that you're trying to say that my opinion is not valid, right?
Well,
so capitalism is not evil and inherently evil, but people are.
Well, I was watching this video about how capitalism is relatively new, and I thought, no, it's not. Capitalism is 100% the original economic model.
Right.
Animals practice capitalism, 100%. I don't care what you say. I will point out communists actually practice capitalism because capitalism ultimately is about where being able to freely exchange ideas. And when I say communists, even in like really controlled areas practice capitalism, I'm saying they have decided that for whatever reason it's worth putting up with that. Enough of them have where, if you're stuck, you're stuck. But again, that's pretty much what real life does to you too. Your situation, your area, wherever you are, it's a capitalist exchange. You've decided what you are going to value. And the part that annoys the crap out of me is that, so this idea that capitalism is new, no, communism is something that's relatively new, and it's never worked, ever. And as many flaws as capitalism might have, really those flaws tend to be worse when they are employed in things that make them closer to communism, like crony capitalism. When you start having the state interfere with the market and they have the monopoly on guns, then that's when you have problems with capitalism, because it's no longer really capitalism. It's someone using force and people agree, it's like, I guess we'll agree with it, but it's not real capitalism. So the fact that fiction outside of, I don't know, Ayn Rand always likes to the corporations are evil, capitalism is evil, it's always evil, evil, evil. That's why I loved Ghostbusters. The real villain was the EPA. It's like, oh, finally, someone upset with government control. This paternal, dictatorial, authoritative bureaucrat who's not elected in any way, shape, or form, who wants to sit there and throw his weight around and ends up hurting way more people, but hey, that's the law. Like, that was a great comment. But it's also, it's hidden in a movie about, people who hunt down ghosts. So it wasn't the whole movie. It was just a part of it that I thought was hilarious. And I think it's got some of the best comedy of the whole thing too. But if you want to watch a movie about guys, a comedy about people hunting down ghosts, you can go watch that. And, let's say you're a diehard environmentalist and the EPA is your god, and you really are upset that they're mocking your god. Well, okay, I guess if you want to be that butthurt about it, but most people are going to be able to watch that movie just fine. And they're going to hear jokes about businesses and people and everything. And they're okay with making fun of the left side of things too. So
so like when you say that, it makes me think of, I'm not saying that you can't represent wealthy people as greedy and evil, because there are a lot of wealthy people that are greedy and evil, right? But
but there are more that aren't.
What's that?
I would actually probably guess that there are more that aren't necessarily, especially the evil part. No more than anyone else.
Well, I guess
I don't think wealth is a sign of evil. If you're talking, oh, now you're definitely muted. Okay. I can't hear you.
You can't hear me.
Oh, now I can. Okay.
said my browser lost my connection to the mic, and it
Ah.
freaking zoomed out again.
Well, I wondered. I was like, I could see you. It looked like you were gesturing, like you were talking, but I couldn't hear anything. So I was like,
Well, yeah. What I was saying is that, like, I don't mind if you're gonna have a villain who's greedy
right,
and rich. That's fine, but that doesn't mean that represents all capitalists. That
Right.
represents one greedy guy.
Right.
That's like half the westerns are about one greedy guy, right? A rancher
Right.
or a railroad
Tries
guy.
to use force when he shouldn't.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I was saying, is that I'm not not all capitalists are evil. Capitalism isn't evil just in itself.
No, it's uncaring. That's the thing, and that's what I think people don't like.
Right.
It
Well,
doesn't care.
and that's what I was saying, is that I don't mind your politics. I don't mind your feeling that, like, my problem is a lot of not bad ideas, but bad funding and bad implementing. Like, I don't mind you helping someone if you choose to help somebody pay for prophylactics or whatever. That's fine, but don't make me pay for it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's just as overbearing, right? So you're choosing what I have to pay for in that equation, and that's a problem that I have.
Well, see, that's where I say that everybody likes a little bit of socialism, because that's a level of socialism that you think is overbearing, and I agree with you. I think it's overbearing. I don't think we should be paying for that, because I don't think the government should be involved all that much in a lot of those decisions. But it's still on the same spectrum as roads and public education. I mean, it's just what level of, how big of a communal pot do you really want, and what things can the communal pot be spent on? Most people want some kind of communal pot.
Well, so if you give of charity and you give of because you feel like giving and you want to help,
right?
That's admirable.
Okay.
If you force somebody else to pay for it, that's not admirable.
Well,
that's
right.
Forcing somebody else to do your bidding.
Right. And it's one of the things that studies have shown, and I hate to be spreading a zombie lie, so if someone has different data on this, let me know. But I'm pretty certain studies have shown that conservatives tend to give more to charity than liberals. So it's not that conservatives don't want to help or don't want to give. It's just that we don't want to be forced to give, and we want to be able to support things that we want to support, not support things that you say we have to support.
Exactly.
Like, I don't know much of anyone who says, "Oh yeah, I hate roads. We shouldn't have roads. We should get rid of all roads." Like, I don't really hear that.
Or ambulances.
Right. I mean, there are certain things that just people will recognize the value of. So when you got to convince people to recognize the value of it at the point of a gun, that's problematic. And that's what I see when my tax dollars go towards funding abortions. They say they don't, but it's like, well, then why does Planned Parenthood get so much money from the government? Oh, they don't spend that money on abortions. They spend other money on abortions. Like, well, I'll tell you what, if they have money to spend on abortions, then they don't need my money. End of story.
Right. And that's not planning for parenthood. That's planning for not parenthood.
Right. And, like all these wars that we're getting into, most of the time, I don't see the need for us to get involved. Like, don't get me wrong, we are the world police, and we reap the benefit for some of that. So some of that, I'm like, there's a little bit to that. we're not exactly an imperial power, and it's because we don't want to have to. We don't want to have to defend it. But in the grand scheme of things, a lot of these, like Ukraine, is a. I'm sorry, I do not see the value to American way of life in Ukraine. There are way too many questions about the types of people that are in the Ukraine government. There are way too many questions about how much we're going to provoke a nuclear power with Russia. Like, it's just, I'm sorry, this is not a good place for us to be. They've never made the case, I don't think. When they sit there and say, well, do you want Russia just running all over Europe? It's like, well, no. I also don't think they will. So there's that.
Right.
You know, you're telling me that Russia can barely handle Ukraine, but you think that Russia's going to take on all of Europe? Like, on one hand, Russia's incompetent, they say, and on the other hand, they say they're a super aggressive military power that can't be stopped without us spending money. It's like, methinks there's a lie somewhere here. Just saying. And again, I don't want to have to pay for something that I don't see as benefiting Americans. All this illegal immigration, I don't see it benefiting Americans. You put up a wall, I think it's going to benefit Americans. Most economists will tell you it's going to benefit Americans.
I love the way that the excuse is it benefits Americans because the illegal immigrants do the jobs that Americans don't want to do.
You mean that you don't want to pay for it?
Well, I'm not saying that that's a legitimate reason. Matter of fact, I just said I love that excuse. But
we're getting to the point where if there's a job that nobody wants to do, we'll build a robot.
Well, that and the fact that how many people right now want to work at all.
Well, yeah,
everybody's like, oh, they want a fucking 10-hour work week, but you get paid for a 40-hour work week. Well, that's not how it works.
Well, it's also, though, you have companies that are making record profits, but they want to pay employees.
Oh, I understand.
It's one of the things that I don't think people understand how bad it is when, like, the banks around here were advertising for teller positions, and it was like $19 an hour. And
yeah, you can make that at McDonald's here.
Well, that's the thing. It was like, well, all right, but I would rather be the bank, to be honest with you. But at the same time, it's like you're starting to encroach upon, like, that McDonald's money is encroaching upon professions, like the rates that, people were charging for a lot of other jobs that were a lot more demanding.
And how many people in McDonald's don't care to do their job, or they slack on their jobs?
Oh yeah.
Not saying that all of them do, because that's definitely not true. But there's a lot of McDonald's was never supposed to be a permanent job. Most of them were supposed to be temporary jobs until you actually got your permanent job. I mean, obviously, again, there's exception to the rules. There are perfectly viable McDonald's jobs if you want to work it as a career, and they pay well if you want to work it as a career and stick around in it. But most people don't.
My wife and I, my wife's a bit of a go-getter. She's always looking for the bigger, better deal and all that stuff, and she'll send me like these listings for jobs, because it'll be like something simple like a secretary, and they want a bachelor's degree, and it's like, what? And you get all these requirements. It's like, yeah, we'd like you to have a bachelor's degree, 5 years experience, certification, and this, and this, and this. and we're going to pay you $13.50 an hour. It's like, good luck. Like, nobody can live on that. Like, you're asking people to spend how much money to get the qualifications, but then you're going to pay them how little? Like, nah, good luck. Like, if that's all you can afford, you can't afford the job.
Well, we are getting near that time.
Yeah.
I think maybe Mr. Eli is sleeping on the couch.
Uh-oh. He failed at his job.
Well, that's okay. I don't mind him sleeping on the couch. What I mind is that when I wake him up to go upstairs, he won't go back to sleep. He'll go upstairs and play around.
I'm just saying I'm docking his pay.
Right.
It's like a lot of my assignments, I don't really have due dates because they shouldn't have due dates. And but kids are in that mentality that everything has a due date. They're like, oh, I forgot to bring that in. It's like, well, bring it in on Monday. I'll dock your pay for today. I'm like, what? And they're freaked out. I don't dock, like, a lot of the stuff, like, if it has a due date, it's got a due date because I had to personally grade it, and it's going to take me time, and I had to have it done before, grades come out. Like there are certain things like that I have to do. But a lot of the exercises that I design on Moodle, you can keep doing them as many times as you want, and it's only going to take the top score. So I don't, get it done by the time the class is over. Just practice. And most of it's just practice. It's one of the things that we're so conditioned with in education that we're going to have a new lesson every day. And it's like, when do you practice the skills if it's always a new lesson, if you're always learning something new? And that's
right.
That's super stressful to always be learning something new. So, by the way, I like your little, the drawing. It's almost like a shield, but I know it's the entrance to a tunnel, but it kind of has that feel. I don't know. It's kind of a neat look. I'm going to blow up your picture. Kick me out so that we can see it better. And if you want to zoom in, you can, because you're zoomed out again.
Apparently it doesn't want to zoom in. I keep trying.
Okay.
It says that I'm zoomed in.
Well, now you're zooming. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Now you're not focused. That's very focused. There you go. That's it. I'm going to kill your banner.
Well, I was going to try to scoot this down a little bit, but
okay.
It doesn't want to. It doesn't want to focus. I don't know what the hell that's about.
I don't know either. You're having some serious problems. There you go. There. That's the money shot. Yeah, I dig that. That's a good look.
I think I want to put some scroll lines going in that way.
Okay.
Well, I'm not doing it today, but I've got some kind of X-Men Danger Room lines going on around there to show that it's kind of a more high-tech environment.
Well, that's like the first, really strong, head-on, almost full-body look that we've. That's a good picture. I am pleased with what we have accomplished tonight, and by we I mean you while I talked, but still.
And the size of it.
Well, yeah, it's blurry again, but yeah.
I just put a pencil in the picture. They should focus.
There you go.
Thumbnail face.
Yeah. Well, still, I mean, I'm just
saying that's not bad for the size. I mean, that panel is a small inset panel. Now I have to figure out Now I have to figure out how I want to do this, but I like the idea of maybe, like, now you're mentioning it, maybe putting the bigger panel on the bottom with him struggling against the tentacle, and
Yeah. Well, anyway.
maybe a panel that size across for the him standing in the sewer.
All right.
All right, so yeah, that's that time. Everyone that watched and spoke, that'd be Zach Olney
Yeah, I know.
and 𝕄𝔸𝕊𝕋𝕀𝕀.
We had a lot of discussions. Oh, I didn't forget. Hold on a second. I always want to have this up there.
Anybody else that watched, liked, subscribed, followed, thank you. Once again, if you like the content, let us know.
They did. I don't care. Faloo.
Yeah, just, if you like the content, leave a comment. Let us know you like the comment.
Yeah, let us know how you like the design. Mastiff. Awesome original character. Let us know.
All right, so good night. God bless. Much love.